Hey, this video is probably going to be one of the most important videos in the Academy. In this video, I will show you how we set up a project and all the parts of the project that are directly related to setting up a project. To create our first project, we have a couple of options. First of all, we can click on Add Project on the dashboard screen and start from here. You can also go to the menu item Projects in the menu bar and click on the first item called Projects. Here we get an overview of all our projects, and in the bottom left corner we can click on Add Project again. So let's do that. IDRONECT opens the project creation screen now. On the left side in the project details part of the page, we can fill in some information about the project. This is all pretty straightforward and you can give the project a name. But make sure to pick a name that tells you something about the project. Do not use something like project number 1. So let's call this project Volume Measurement Harbor. Now give it a status. We can here choose between draft, quoted, approved, in progress, completed, and cancelled. Then link the project to a customer. If there is no customer in your account, don't worry, as I will show you later in the video how you can easily do this. Select the period for which your project will run. This can vary from projects that only take 1 day to projects that take a whole year or more. In the scope, you can add some more details on what the project is about. Right now, I'll just type that this is the project for the IDRONECT OS Academy. On the right side, we have the whole structure of how a project is built. I'll go over it level by level. First, start with the phases. IDRONECT OS standard divides a project into 3 phases: the preparation phase, the flight phase, and the post-flight phase. These are just phases the platform suggests. That does not mean that you have to use these phases. You can easily delete them, edit their names, or add new phases. Inside these phases, we have actions. This is where you will plan the actual steps of your project. An action is, for example, a meeting, ground research, getting permits, and so on. I'll go through some different types of actions with you. We can first give our action a title like Start Meeting. We will set the right date and time in the action detail page. To go to the action detail page, click on the pen icon on the right side of the action. Now the action detail page will open. On the left side, you have the detail input fields, and on the right the map. As this is the start meeting action, we will not be needing the map. For the type, you will select meeting from the drop-down menu. The platform now asks if you want to keep the checklists that were previously linked to this action or only use the new checklists. Let's click no and only use the new checklists, but more about checklists in a later video. The title is already filled in. We can give it a status like draft, to do, in progress, completed, or cancelled. We can give this action a description like this is the first meeting we'll have on this project. Let's make sure that everybody knows what is expected from them. Now we have to select what date our meeting will be and at what time. It is very important to use this correct, as this is how everyone's calendar is created. So make sure you fill in the correct date and time. Appoint someone who is responsible for this action and who will be the crew, the people who will take part in this action. So let's say that I'm the responsible in the meeting and that Tom and Chris will join me in the meeting. Drones, accessories, action price, action quantity is not important at this moment. If we go back to the project overview by clicking on the arrow in the top left corner and now add a new action, we'll click on Add Empty Action and call this one Ground Research. So after clicking the Added button, you can see that I already filled in the previous input fields as we went over this in the previous action. But now the difference is that for ground research, we will be using the map to indicate to our team where they should do the actual ground research. We have some very interesting tools on the map. We can use the Polygon tool to draw a polygon, but let's first put the map into satellite view so that it is clear where we are drawing. If we now click on the Polygon tool, we can draw simply by clicking on the map and then double-clicking when we are done with our drawing. A pop-up will now appear where we can give some details on the zone. For now, we will just give it the name Ground Research Zone. If the customer gave you the exact coordinates, you can fill them in at the bottom of the screen. If we now go back to the project overview page and give the action in the flight phase a name Flight 1 and click on Edit, we can select the type of this action again. As we can see, volume measurement flight is not an option here. So let's create this action type. We can do this by simply button next to the dropdown. But for this action type, we will go to our action type library. You can find the action type library under the menu item projects right here. Let's click on the Add New Type button and give the action type a name so that we can later find it back in the dropdown. Give it a description and a procedure. We can also give the action type a fixed price. This is for when we want to create automatically generated quotes from the project, but that is going to be a different video as well. As this is a flight type, this action type needs a risk assessment and should be indicated as a flight action type. If we now click Submit, you get an overview of the information that you filled in. But you can see on the top that you have the option to click on checklists. In this step, we can link checklists to this action type. What this does is automatically link checklists when we select this action type to our action. You will see why this is super handy in another video. For now, we will just add some checklists, for example, the DJI Inspire 2 checklists. If we now go back to our project and click on Edit for our Flight 1 action, we can select the action type we just created. Let's fill in the rest of the details, and right now we will need drones and accessories. This is so that IDRONECT OS can make sure that your assets don't get double booked, and so that you know where what is at what time. For this action, we will draw a flight zone. For the pilot, let's draw another polygon. We will now give this polygon the name Flight Zone and set its vertical limits. When using the tracker, this is all very important information as we use this to see if the drone is in the designated area. We still leave the type on flight, and if we now close the pop-up, you can select the circle drawing tool. Let's use this one to define a risk on the map. You can again double click when you're done drawing. We will call this zone High Antenna to indicate to our pilot that there is a high antenna in the middle of that field. We will now change the type from flight to risk, and a second drop-down will appear from which we can select our risks. More on risks in a later video as well. We can set the vertical limit so that the pilot knows how high the antenna is, and then we are done. You can prepare for each project as in-depth as you want yourself. This is the basic way on how you create a project in IDRONECT OS. In later videos, I will show you how to create the project a lot faster, the premium drawing tools, nested actions, and a lot more.